The first time I laid eyes on Garry Lyon was at Football Park in 1986. Melbourne had started to try and recruit me from the Sturt Footy Club. I'd heard a lot about this up-and-coming star from Kyabram. Very skinny at that time, very hairy legs, I remembered that. But I also remember him kicking 2 or 3 goals. Garry stood out, and I got introduced to him after the game. That was the start of a long friendship.
Up in front, White, off hands, Lyon. That is a magnificent goal. What a goal!
He had this air of confidence about him. He wasn't arrogant at all. You sort of knew really early that he had a fierce competitiveness about him.
Too far out of the score for Lyon, you would think. A mammoth kick, though, by the Demon Star. Oh, don't tell me he's kicked it! What a goal!
How I'd describe Garry as a player, probably the package. He had everything. Highly skilled. He could do a lot of things with the footy that most guys couldn't. Kicked both sides of his body, used his body extremely well in marking contests because he wasn't overly big early days, but his footy IQ was something that always stood out. And he stood up in big moments.
Lyon with a hand on it, recovers well, the veteran goes a goal, and he has kicked it!
He commanded your attention. You just knew where to lead at the right time, and you got the foot in the midfield and you could look up, and he was leading right at you, so it was pretty hard to miss.
Tries to lay it to Garry Lyon. Good shot by Lyon. What a goal! He's a champ.
One of the great games for me was against the Western Bulldogs, 94 semi-final. Gazza kicked 10, and he just, right from the first quarter, just stood out that he was going to impact that game, and he was really well looked after by a lot of the midfielders. I think I might have actually helped him with 3. You knew he was going to stand up because of his class, that he could win games off his own boot, set us up, big win, extraordinary game.
Here's number 10 if he's accurate. And he is!
He's a little bit of a unicorn, really. I mean, he's a 5-time All-Australian. I think in 45 years, he's the only one to do 2 All-Australians as a defender and then 2 as a forward. So he was a rare talent that he could do both. Garry, as a captain, led the club from 91 to 97. At that time, was the longest serving captain. He had a great ability to have that real leadership and hard-ass football persona, and people wanted to follow him, and that's why he was a great leader. We used to spend a lot of time chewing the fat around and having a latte, and he always used to order his latte hot, hot, hot. I don't want a milkshake. So we used to have a lot of coffees talking about the club, how we were going to get the group better. We learned a lot off each other. We were great mates.
Over the back, Garry Lyon off the ground. Brilliant! What a goal! A classic!
At the end of Garry's career, he could have gone really anywhere he wanted to. He's a highly respected journalist, and his understanding of the game is still at the forefront. Look, he's had an amazing contribution to the game through his work in the media.
Taken by Lyon, a screw punt. That is magnificent footy by the champion.
I think it's great recognition for him and our club at the time. Really strong club. Unfortunately, never saluted with a premiership. I think when eventually winning the premiership and seeing him present the cup was really special. I'm sure if you asked him, that was one of the highlights of his life.
Lyon again.
How would Garry be remembered? I think from his teammates' point of view, highly respected, star of the competition. So all the accolades, really proud that he's got that recognition. No doubt there's some unbelievable names of our great game in this little club, the Hall of Fame, and he'll sit very comfortably amongst all those legends of the game.